Good morning, everybody. Today we are here at the Mount Gravatt Cemetery to pay our respects to our true Brisbane icon, George Kiprios, or better known as Rock and Roll George. So let's take a walk up the fittingly named Rock and Roll George Avenue here at the cemetery, and I'll tell you his story. George was born in the suburb of West End here in Brisbane, and he lived there basically all his life. Growing up, he loved to play many sports, but especially rugby league. He even played for the Southern Suburbs Magpies in Brisbane, now known as the South Logan Magpies. He also enjoyed boxing, horse racing, cricket, and of course rock and roll. For decades, George was a familiar sight cruising up and down Queen Street before it became a mall in his beloved 1952 FX Holden with its special rock and roll number plate and playing rock and roll tunes. Just taking a look at some of the scenery here at the cemetery. There's some maintenance going on over there. Seems to be a bit busy today here too. After the Queen Street Mall opened in 1982, ending George's daily cruises up the street, he was still a prominent figure in Brisbane City, engaging with the locals and sharing stories of a bygone era. Despite his rock and roll persona, George preferred to talk about his love of sports, especially rugby league, instead, and his dislike of the Brisbane Broncos and the Queensland Maroons team, until Mal Meninga became the coach. Mal Meninga was also a former Souths player, so anything Mal did was great, according to George. When I was first researching George, I seen that comment about his dislike of the Queensland Maroons. I just found that quite funny and a bit odd, someone who has been born and bred in Queensland not liking the Maroons team. George is buried here in the Greek section of the Mount Gravatt Cemetery. His grave has no headstone, but as it shows here on this map, it's his grave. And Rock and Roll George Avenue, which I am still walking on, which I started up there, and it ends just at the corner up here, it actually also leads to his grave. It's a bit windy today. Now here we arrive at George's final resting place. As I mentioned before, there's no name or headstone, but with the map that I just shown, it says that it is his grave. Because when you look on the map, there's this one here, then there's the block of land, well, not block of land, I should say a vacant plot. Then there's this one here, which you can see this metal church, and it's got his marker on it, like on the actual map. His story is a reminder of Brisbane's bygone history of a time of rockers, milk bars, and dancers at the old Cloudland Bar. Though he has passed, George's legacy lives on in the hearts of those who knew him and those who heard his story. He was a symbol of a vibrant and colourful era of Brisbane. His FX Holden is also on display at the Queensland Museum. And George passed away in 2009 after a battle of cancer. He was 82. Thank you for joining me on this journey telling the story of Rock and Roll George. If you haven't done so already, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel to see more of my cemetery videos and stories like this one, and feel free to share these videos around. And I thank you, and I hope you have a lovely day today.